Ahoy, ladies and gentlemen, here I am. Bosh, here I am. How are you? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. I've finally made it. It's the 16th of March, 2024, and the time difference has been pissing me around, so I apologise in advance for getting that wrong. What else have I got? I've got some great news today on the Twitter front, which will thoroughly please everybody who's got any taste in women, and that is Holly Valance gobbing off about everybody's favourite doom goblin, Greta Thunberg, which I'm in love, frankly. I'm in love. Second thing I do want to check, though, is can you actually see me and hear me all right? Because we've moved house. I've had a nightmare with the internet, and then I had to run a 60-foot cable across the landing to plug it in because it wasn't working. Is there a time difference? Yes, there is a 7-hour time difference, Ron. And it used to be an 8-hour time difference. Haven't I talked about getting rid of this shit for a while now? Like this pointless time changes. Goes back to the days where we were like tilling the fields at 4 o'clock in the morning and we didn't have head torches. So that's good. All right, it's working. Nice one. The flag Baron flight is the Royal Marines core colours with the crest in the middle. I thought you would have knew that one, but telling by those world famous colours and the globe and laurels. Let me have a look. I'll see if I can show you one if there's one on the internet. The Royal Marines HQ flag. That's it. Hang on, how do I share it? There we go. There it is, in full. And I've got one because my boss gave me to look after. It got totally forgot about in a crate for about 2 years, and then I found it and went, oh yeah. And I was out of the car. So technically, this is Navy property still. If anybody wants it, feel free to, Mr. Sea Lord, send me a fucking letter and I might entertain the idea. But I have still got a chip on my shoulder about Navy officers after they charged Al Blackman with murder. So now I'm a civilian and an American and I have an arsenal in my house. I'll be very tempted to say, fuck you, Sea Lord. How does that sound? That's kiss my festering left one, Mr. Sea Lord, sir. But yeah, by land, by sea, indeed. It ain't maroon, but it's proper tidy. Oh, no. Not the codhead paratrooper. So, who's in? Shitloads of you already. Over 300. They must have took me off the naughty step. People have actually started seeing my work. How peculiar. Gaylord. Yeah. But, I mean, it was shocking, wasn't it, than prosecuting Al Blackman? Everyone who isn't a moron knew it was... You didn't need to be a legal professional, rumpole of the Bailey, to know that a bloke killing an enemy combatant who engaged his team first and was personally responsible for injuring members of his team with an AK-47. You didn't need to be rumpole of the Bailey to know that if he breaks the law of armed conflict and finishes off critically wounded enemy combatant, at worst, it's like manslaughter with diminished responsibility. And again, no Bootneck was sitting there going, yeah, perfectly happy with murdering wounded soldiers. Nobody said that. Like, obviously you're not supposed to do it and it's unprofessional. But everybody was like, probably worth like 2 or 3 years tops. Like, set an example. Make sure people don't do it. It's not very professional. But only the Navy were like, yeah, first degree murder. It's what I was saying. If you came home from work and caught your missus gobbling the milkman off and you strangled him to death there and then in your fucking living room, they wouldn't do you for murder then. Because it's a crime of passion, isn't it? If you actually strangled the milkman, you'd have probably got like, what would you get for that? Realistically, in Britain, what would you get for that? Probably get about 7 years. You see people murdering people all the time now and they get off with like fucking kid gloves, 6 or 7 years in prison. So it's like, diminished responsibility, strangle the milkman to death, get 7 years. Kill an enemy fucking combatant who was trying to kill you with an AK-47 30 seconds earlier and you get life in prison, first degree murder. It was always a stitch up, total stitch up by the fucking scumbag, Rupert, worms that are in the military. And I am a chippy northern working class wanker because I do hate them. Like, the Royal Marines are the only officers that I liked. Because the Royal Marines have high standards, and the officers actually got nothing to do with Sandhurst. They didn't go anywhere near Sandhurst. Do all the training at the Commando Training Centre, and they do all the same commando tests, and you see them getting thrashed by the enlisted ranks for months there. So they earn the stripes, the Royal Marines officers, and out of all my officers, I reckon only like 20% of them were wankers, which for the military is a fucking staggeringly low number. I actually liked Royal Marines officers. But fucking army ones, Sandhurst, almost all of them were twats. I've told you the story about when I was in Baghdad. Some of them Ruperts from Sandhurst are fucking clueless. And they used to gob off. Like, there was a lass, a lieutenant who was in charge of the Gurkhas when we were in Baghdad, and she was always bragging about them, going like, oh, my lads could handle this, the Gurkhas. Oh, yes, they're super elite. I was like, yeah, but you aren't. You're just some fucking jumped up yo-yo knickered Rupert slut bucket that thinks because you fucking have a degree in Latin and went to Sandhurst, learned how to walk with a fucking book on your head, that you know more than the Gurkhas. They earn the fucking stripes as well, but you didn't. You absolute fucking jizz bucket. God, I hated that woman. Sarah Panting, she was called. Lieutenant Panting. What a fucking dickhead. So yeah, I never liked any of them. There were some right clueless twats. And they're the ones who always end up as politicians, aren't they? Think about it. The three that I hate were fucking Ruperts from Sandhurst, Tom Tuggan twat, Johnny Mercer, self-serving shitbag that he is, and fucking, who's the other one? Tobias L. Cunt. Like, those three blokes are absolute cunts. I hate them. So, like, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable to have a chip on your shoulder about fucking Ruperts. Don't start me on this. People think because but you all know regulars. Everyone watching this is a regular. It's not a military themed channel. It isn't. I just occasionally, when you goad me into it, go on a rant about the military. Almost none of my content is military themed because I don't want to be a boring bastard. I've been out for 10 years. I don't want to be a boring bastard and talk about the military all the time. And I don't think I'm Tommy 10 bollocks just because I earn my green lid and I happen to be nails. That's it. That's just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. The fact that I straddle the battlefield like a mighty colossus and I have bollocks like coconuts is just a happy coincidence. This is not a military themed channel. It's a comedy. It's a comedy channel, this. But occasionally you can get me wound up. And yeah, I hate them. Fucking, you won't get me going, oh, rah rah for the military. No. As usual, the military is, it's part of a system. It's got pros and cons. But predominantly, especially the officer class, the UK is a class society. It's much better in America. American officers were much better than British ones. The UK is a class society. And it's jobs for gentlemen, especially from fucking Sandhurst. And 9 out of 10 of them cunts from that place are not worth a wank. Yeah. I mean, seriously. So, like I said, there was a cavalry officer I met in Baghdad and he was completely off his tits. I was like, if I was in Vietnam with one of these, that's probably why we never went to Vietnam, because Vietnam was so dicey. You would be able to shoot your own officer in the back. And if fucking the British Army, working class lads from the Thames and the Tyne, deployed to Vietnam with some of these toffee-nosed, talk like you've got 3 sets of testicles in your mouth, chiselers from Sandhurst. I think most of them would have got 2 in the back of the head. So, yeah, hate them. Oh, there you go. Well, they're different as well, aren't they? They're cut from different cloth. Just doing it for the paycheck and the career there, aren't they? But the ones who I'm just having a drink of red. Red. I like this. The flavours in America are funny. They're all chemicals and they have weird names like Arctic Blast. I was like, what the fuck is Arctic Blast? That's not even a flavour. Call me bluff old traditionalist, but I like it when it's like orange, pineapple, not red rocket rooster juice. What the fuck's that? Anyway. Many Sandhurst cadets are there because Daddy owns land and horses. I remember listening to a comedian in a pub in Borough. He was a Scouser, and he made me laugh because he come out and said, "Oh, I hate posh cunts." He was a typical Scouser. He said there was a right posh bloke in my local the other day. He was there at the bar talking shit, going on about this and that and the other. So to get me home back, I went outside. I got my car key out and I slashed it right down the side of his horse. Which I thought was quite good. Imagine taking a horse to a pub in Liverpool. They'd scran it before you finished your first pint, wouldn't it? That horse would be rolled into a kebab faster than you could say, "Watch your alloys in Liverpool." Anyway, shall we do some of the news? Because there's a few things I want to talk about today. First of all, I am going to show you Holly Levant's gobbing off because it really, really cheered me up. I think I'm in love.
I don't understand why you had this like demonic little gremlin high priest.
I hope the sound's working. You got
We're
that one?
going back.
I don't understand why you had this like demonic little gremlin high priestess of climatism as the goddess in classrooms, Greta.
Greta Thunberg, okay.
And the kids are all coming home with depression and anxiety. Why would you go to your music lesson or bother doing your homework or get out of bed if you think we're all going to be dead in 5 years anyway? I mean, they told me in class. Greta told me. Why would you bother? Doesn't give anybody hope. I don't understand why.
You know why that's funny? Because in this day and age, when we're living in the anti-truth era, normal, everyday common sense that you'd sort of hear off your mum is rare. That's just like that's the type of thing you'd hear a normal woman in the pub say. And now it's like a fucking revelation seeing that on television because the TV networks and the radio stations are run by woke communists who've got the IQ of a fucking pork pie. Oh my God, have I just read that right? Time's not being kind to Holly. What a necky bastard. Have you looked in the mirror, Davy? Fuck me. Davy boy thinks Holly Valance is rats. She's like 45, isn't she? I think she's aged perfectly well. Don't tell me, Davy, I would not kick her out of bed to get to your fucking balls. No, very, very strange. Hasn't she aged perfectly normally? Davy, I want to see your Mrs. Davy boy. I want to see the fucking living embodiment of divinity that you're shagging every night if you're turning your nose up at Holly. Christ. And I've been to Saltburn. There's some fucking toothless, one-eared simpletons wandering around in Saltburn. Don't tell me you're absolute wall-to-wall minge in Saltburn. Anyway, I'm one I don't even know who she is. She was in Neighbours when I was a band, so probably in like the early 90s. And then she launched a pretty poor pop career. So, it's not really very famous. But she's all right. Fucking bog standard, good looking for a 45-year-old woman, surely. As I said, I don't believe that our codhead friends fucking kick her out of bed, would he? Pah! Get off me. Get off my 70-year-old cock. You rats. I'd forgive her for giving me a Dutch. I'd tongue punch Holly's shitbox all day long. I'd French kiss Holly Valance if she brushed her teeth with dog shit every day. Anyway, just said. Back to the point. That is just self-evidently true, and the reason why it's so self-evidently true is because poor working class people. The reason you get stifled in our class-based society. And again, don't want to sound like a commie, I'm a capitalist, but one aspect of that fucking fraudster Karl Marx, their ideology that's true is that, society is set up to benefit the ruling class. And an aspect of that is you get hamstrung with building lifelong wealth when you work in class because when you had a genuinely poor upbringing, you become trained to not really plan for tomorrow. If your life's a bit grim and you become nihilistic, you want to spend it the second you get it. And because of that, I think I was really bad with my money till I was in my mid-20s. Because of that reason, it's like you're used to being in a little bit of a shitty situation. So you get paid and then you live like a millionaire for 3 days and then you're skint for the rest of the fucking month. I mean, that's what it's nearly every working class souls, you can tell you that. Take yourself a wet, mate. You beat it from a gunner to a booty. Awesome stream. Thanks very much. From a gunner to a booty. What did you do? 2-9 Commando, or did you transfer to the Royal Marines, or what? I do actually know quite a lot about that because we got backfilled because we were under strength before I went to Northern Ireland, and my company at the time was K Company at 4-2 Commando, and we got amalgamated with 7-9 Battery Royal Artillery, who from the 2-9 Commando at the Citadel. So I spent about a year with a battery from 2-9 Commando, and I really had a good time with them. Good lads. There's always talk of sort of being aggressive in the scene rivalry and politicking between the army and the corps, but we got on really well. And then it was good. I seen him a couple of years later when we invaded Iraq, and I was cutting about on a quad. I had my own quad. It was fucking like Laws of the Jungle when we invaded Iraq. And I took my quad over to 7-9 Battery at Shiba, and they're all there filling the guns. It was a good time. Good seeing them all again. So yeah, that's a happy memory. You stoked there. And Gareth's a new member because Gareth's fucking based. Very sensible. Thanks for joining in the fun. So back to Holly Valance. This is why what she's saying is so true there. And it's so self-evidently true to anybody who's ever had to work for a living. If your life's a bit rough, you don't really save your money because you want to live in the now. And it's what hamstrings poor people. And I didn't start putting my money away and grow out of that sort of conditioning until I was in my late 20s, maybe my even early 30s, I think, when I started actually buying stock and putting it into a private pension and actually thinking, yeah, maybe I should plan for the future, because I was stuck in that mindset. And that right there, what she said, without any conditioning or high education or a degree in psychology, is so self-evidently true to anybody who's not a fucking idiot. They know it's common sense. Like, it cannot be a coincidence that young people now are more depressed and medicated and suicidal and anxious, and just their mental health is a fucking train wreck. And it wasn't like that when we were nippers, was it? Like, anyone in this chat over the age of about 30, it just wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same. Hardly anybody. I'd be amazed if anybody in my entire class when I was in secondary school was on antidepressants. And now you read about it all the time. Everyone's fucked on drugs. Like, oh, brass eye, fucked and bombed. All the kids are fucked on drugs. And these knobheads that run the world want to tell you that it's all going brilliantly. Joe bastard Bungalow Biden, I wouldn't let him run me a fucking bath. And they're like, oh yeah, it's all going well. All the kids are fucked on drugs. What do you mean it's going well? The one part of your life people of my generation longed for was our childhood because it was so much fun and you were carefree. And now they're all chronically depressed. And the knobheads that run the world want to tell you that everything's going well. It's fucking awful. I mean, I'm just glad I'm an old bastard and I don't have to go through this shit. Yeah, this is true. We didn't know how good we had it. It's shocking what they've done to them. Reading about the transitioning stuff, I mean, we can talk about that for a bit because that's a political hot topic. It is unbelievable when there's so many restrictions on kids being able to do anything. Drinking, smoking, they can't do anything. You can't buy tabs, you can't buy booze, you can't buy scratch cards, you can't drive, you can't vote. But they're telling them that a 12-year-old can decide whether or not they should get cock off like Babs Cabs. Getting cock off next week. Remember that? It's fucking mental. It's mental. It's just like Holly Valance said there, self-evidently wrong. Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see it. It's self-evidently wrong. Children can't decide shit. Kids are thick as fuck. I mean, I'll tell you what, I don't even go from this. I don't even think that now, based off the last 30 years, that you should be voting at 18. I fucking don't. And I think sensible, reasonable kids concede the point. I guarantee if I was 19 now, I'd be like, yeah, put voting back to 21. Everyone in my class was a fucking plank. Because think about it. When it was 18 to vote, the kids were like growing up fast. They were like leaving school and getting a job pretty quick. Stonehenge, oh, he was a gunner for 26 years. Right, okay. I'm telling Shy Beether. Yeah. Okay, when you said to a bootneck, I thought you might have transferred. Okay, so you mean you're just watching a bootneck. Well, anyway, yeah. Don't say just a gunner. The fucking salt of the earth. I prefer the army to the navy, lads. I do, and I know that's sacrilege for a bootneck, but them 2-9 Commando lads were doing more work on the ground in Iraq than everyone sat on a ship getting pissed, weren't they? Just putting it out there, sailors. Don't spit your dummy out. But they were. They crossed the line with us in the fucking desert. They weren't just getting pissed on a bar 200 miles offshore. So, just pointing that out. You know what, Derek? That's an interesting comment because I've never got around to it. And I'm about 50 pages from the end of Starship Troopers, the book. What a profoundly intellectual book that was. I was genuinely surprised at how good it was. If anybody listening to this hasn't read Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein, I would fucking recommend it because I'm a true believer now. There's so many good... There's basically chapters in there that are just walls of text in which Heinlein is essentially putting his whole political philosophy out there. I think it's why it's written in the first person so much. And he has these massive speeches by like the commandant at the officer training school or Colonel, what's he called now? French twat. Anyway, Colonel, what's his name, his school teacher. There's tons of people going these lengthy tirades basically about, well, it's basically just telling you his political ideology. And almost at the very end of it, I'm absolutely convinced that that's what we should be doing with our society. Like 100%. I'm not even taking the piss. Like, I think it works. And the reason I think it works, and I think it speaks to me more than, you know, like there's a ton of people done deep dives on Starship Troopers, like PewDiePie and Sargon, and there's tons of them. Red Letter, there's shitloads of people talked about Starship Troopers at length because it's like, it's got a lot of tons of political philosophy in there. But I think more than any of them, I understand it because I did go through this type of thing. I.e., I didn't just join a bog standard military unit. And I actually live my life like Rico does in the book. Like, my ideology is the same, and it's because I got tortured. Like, it really changes you as a person, and it really does make you think more of service than yourself. I think it works, is my point, because I've been through it. Oriole, can you share more on the class system in Britain nowadays? It's hard to understand properly as an American. Yeah, well, essentially, Ricky Gervais said it good. He said, if you get a nice car in America and your neighbours see it, they all come up to you and say, like, oh, that's a great car. How did you get that? Where did you get that from? If you have a nice car in England, people say, wanker, and everybody hates you. Because essentially we're conditioned from birth to be part of a class system that just doesn't exist in the same way. In the United States, they have old money, don't they? But it's not the same as in the UK. Barack Obama is evidence of this. Barack Obama was just a middle-class arsehole, right? His family weren't wealthy. They weren't doing badly. They were just middle-class arseholes. Dad was a scruffy twat from Kenya who did exactly what many scruffy twats from Kenya do and pumped, squirted and ran, right? Barack's dad was a stab, and run kind of guy, like lots of people from that background. So the man and the family raised him, and he ended up the president of the United States. That would never happen in the UK because every single prime minister in the UK is a posh twat. Like, I think, pick the last 20 prime ministers. I bet you 18 of them went to Eton. Like, almost all of them. It's totally different. Whereas in the United States, there's Obama, black man, middle class family, didn't know his dad, president. Wouldn't happen here. No fucking way. There is an ingrained class society in the UK. Pumped, squirted, and ran. Yeah, stab, and run. Bish, bash, bosh. That's how it works. That's how it works with Kenyan blokes. So yeah, brilliant. That's proof. And I think that it's obvious. I think that the other thing is, in the UK, I've noticed it's ghettoised a lot more. Like the weird thing I found strange about Pasadena, where we used to live, was you used to like walk across the street and the house would be worth 10 times more than the one you live in. Like we'd be living in a shitty little flat and then you cross the road and you're at a $10 million house. Whereas back home, we have like areas, don't we? Like in Borough. Well, Borough's a bad example because there's almost no posh areas. In Borough, there's like 12 shitholes and one posh area. There's like Nunthorpe. It's the only place that's not rough. But in most towns, like Manchester, you've got posh areas and then you've got shitholes. You've got like Moss Side and you've got Prestwich and it's out the way. But in America, they mix them in a bit. Like you literally just walk across the street and you're in the posh bit. So I think they do it on purpose. And as I've told you, it's the same. You know, in England, the mega wealthy people, they live several miles away from the shitholes, don't they? I read that what's his name, Andy Murray, lived on one street in some leafy shire in England, and apparently everyone on the street was famous. It was like Andy Murray, Freddie Flintoff, fucking some BBC presenter, some radio host. Like the whole street's famous. It's fucking really weird, and that's the difference. It's proper. Yeah, okay, that's it. Nunthorpe, Martin, Grey Towers. There's only 3 posh bits in Borough, isn't there? That is true. Thatcher and Major were the last working class ones. But it's been an old boys club ever since. And before, they were anomalies, really, weren't they? So yeah, that's the crack. Anyway, what was I talking about before I got sidetracked there? Oh yeah, so the political theology that I really think is true is Heinlein talking about how you should have to do some service before you get the right to vote. And until I read that book, I didn't agree with it, but now I've read it, I fucking think I do. That's how much of a profound effect it's had on me. At the end of the day, it boils down to this, right? And I really could identify with the book. Because I am a Green Beret. And when you're in like week 6 of training and half the troops left, and it was that bad with us. Like you think of how many apertures you've got to go through before you get to your green lid. Like it's hard. Like way harder than the bog standard army or the navy. Because you do a PRMC, which is where it's a potential Royal Marines course. You go down there, there's about 100 blokes. Of the 100, maybe 25 pass because they thrash the tits off you for a week. And then when they've got enough people who've passed the PRMC, they bundle all them together and they make a troop with it. And I joined with 776 Troop in November 99. And then there was about 73 lads. And every week you lose a handful. And then week 5 we went on gruesome twosome, which was the worst, where they absolutely thrashed the arse off you. And when we got back from twosome, I think we'd gone from 73 to like 24 or something. Like it went down proper fast. And the training team was saying, if all you fucking shithouses keep leaving, we're going to amalgamate your troop and that'll be shit. Because we won't have enough people to continue. And it really changed me because it made you value what you were doing. And when they were saying to us, you need to tough it out to get your green lid, they give us a bit of a pep talk after that many people left. And I remember the sergeant, Andy Bridson he was called, saying like, you don't think we were doing this for a reason, but we are. We're not just torturing you for torturing your sake. We're doing it because you have to earn it. He was channeling his inner Heinlein, and I don't think he'd ever read him. Maybe he did. But you're going back 20 odd years. And he said, you can buy this from Louis Bernard's. It's the shop on camp. He's like, you can buy this for a tenner. And you can put it on your head. But it's worthless. And it is. It's only worth something if you earned it. Right? That's self-evidently true. And there's a bit in it in the book that, like, is that almost the exact same analogy? Because he says to him, okay, this is Colonel Dubois, he's called. He's ranting about it. And he says to him, oh, okay, Rigo, you've won the 100-metre dash. Here you go. I'll write you a certificate. And he writes him a certificate out that Johnny Rigo has won the 100-metre dash. And he gives him it and he says, oh, is that valuable to you now? And Rigo's like, no. And you know full well I came fourth. And he says, exactly. And you were probably quite proud of that fourth because it's better than 10th. And you would be. Fourth's not bad. That's the point everyone makes about boxing being quite valuable. Even if you lose, you enjoy the experience. So I used to like boxing. I boxed a bit in the car. Won my first fight, then got battered. And thought, okay, it's too hard this. But the point is, it's enjoyable because you earned it. You earned the bruises. Even if you lose. If you're a top level fighter and you get up there, like Ricky Hatton, and then you get battered by Floyd Mayweather, he'll have still been proud and happy he did it when he lost that fight because he fought the best boxer in the world. Who cares if you lose? It's valuable because you're narrowing that aperture and you're separating the wheat from the chaff. And the book spoke to me so much because I didn't realise it at the time, but I was going through the same process. And ever since then, I have been someone who's willing to vote for things that don't benefit me. Like, I've always been that way. I talked about this before. I don't smoke. And I like the bars without smoking because it doesn't sting my eyes, doesn't get in my clothes. But I was against the smoking ban because on principle I was against it. I argued and this is like fucking hell, 20 years ago I was arguing this toss. I was in the pub with the lads and they were saying like, oh yeah, but you don't smoke, so why do you care? And I was like, because it's the principle of the matter. And my initial argument was like, if some old bloke who fought in the fucking war wants to sit and have a cigar while he's having a pint, or smoke a Benson and Hedges or a roll-up while he's doing the crosswords, some 70-year-old bloke, I was like, it's up to him, isn't it? If I don't like it, I can leave. I didn't like the idea of putting the cart behind the horse, even though I wasn't into it. I didn't support it. And if you read Heinlein, he sort of explains that if you put people through a process where you earn something like that, it does make you think more about the whole than the individual in a good way, not like a communist. And yeah, it had a profound effect on me. And in my life, there's plenty of times when I've supported something out of principle. I've thought, okay, this might benefit me on the face of it, but I don't support it out of principle. And I think that's why it's a good idea to not have universal suffrage. It really did make sense to me. I was like, why don't we just do something similar? And what a lot of people who only saw the film don't understand is that's what he's talking about. It's because it's a war film, you're thinking of it from a military standpoint, but he explains in the book how they would have service for everybody. You know, it's not necessarily military. And the bloke says, if you came in here with no arms and no legs and you insisted on serving, we would find something for you to do. You might spend 2 years digging a fucking latrines in a whatever, or you might spend 2 years in a sewage farm, or chiseling Johnnies off the walls of the sewers in the London fucking underground. They think of things that are terrible for you to do so you can earn your place. And so at the end of that 2 years, when you've earned the franchise and you're allowed to vote, it's valuable to you. And you start thinking about the whole rather than just yourself, because that is what we've done now. And that was what he was saying was going to happen in the book. And it has happened. Heinlein seemed to talk about how he thought that we were going to go to pot because everybody was just going to think, I can have whatever I vote for. And then now you get this shit where you get these ghetto fucking moms or the shitbags in Birmingham and fucking London who can't work, won't work. They're sick, lame and lazy, stealing from the betters because apparently they have the same value as me. They don't. They don't. And it is a liberal utopia because Heinlein's vision, at no point is race brought into it. Rico's actually foreign. He's like Filipino. You don't even think about race in the book. Everybody is of different races. Hassan is the assassin. He's clearly an Arab or something. There's no real mention of race in the book because nobody cares. You care about people's value. And the shitbags who come to England from abroad, nobody hates them because they're from abroad or they've got a tan. They hate them because they're chancers. They're just thieves in all but name. They're coming because they've got the smell of a free ride and a free meal ticket, and they do not work. And when I was working in Nottingham a couple of years ago, my neighbour was a foreign black dude who didn't fucking work ever. And I was sick of going to work every day, and I never take sickies. I haven't chucked a sickie in 10 years. That's why I'm always a valuable employee. I never seen him work. He was younger than me. He probably looked 35. He sat on his fucking arse all day, every day. And these people are everywhere. The rats have smelt the cheese. Very true. It's not about your colour or your creed or your nationality or your religion. It's about being fucking worth something. And that's why the book had a profound effect on me. Because I don't have a problem with people that work hard. I don't like scruffy white chavs from Middlesbrough. Want baby for money. Baby for money. That's what they like. I hate them. They're locals, they're natives. Fuck them. Don't give them anything. And when I was young in the 90s, they were the only ones we hated because there was no bloody foreigners. We didn't walk around the streets going, fucking Somalians, there's loads of them. There was no Somalians in Middlesbrough in fucking 1987. But there was scruffy white cunts. And we all hated them. And we were like, look, can't work, fucking won't work. Do some work, fatty. Because we all pay for them. And it pisses you off. It's a liberal utopia described in Starship Troopers, and it's what I've been advocating for since day one. I've always stood against the more right-wing people that follow me and gone on about having a fucking ethno-nationalism because I have a soft spot for foreign dudes because one kid in my whole class was an Indian lad called Neil, and he was like my best mate when I was in primary school, and I liked his family. His mum and dad were good to me after my mum died of cancer. I used to go and have sleepovers at his house when I was like 10. And they were a great family and they were hard working, so I've got a soft spot for them. It's not about what they look like or where they're from. But, and this is a big but, as I talked about the other day where they're going to force me to pick, they're doing it again now. I have a soft spot for those people. But if they're going to all end up like Shola Shoggy Goggy Bomu or whatever the fuck she's called, two's up on pronouncing that. Even Welsh is fucking easier. What's your name, Gareth? That's spoken Welsh. Fucking like the alphabet vomited. And I prefer that to Catherine Shoggy Boggy Bogu, or whatever the fuck she's called. And if she's on on Twitter gobbing off about how everyone has to pick a side. In fact, let me look for that. Some maniac on Twitter. Today, yeah, let me see if I can find it. Some fucking maniac on Twitter today, in response to a video of a load of white school bullies picking on a black kid, said one of the maddest things I've ever said by a minority, which is, when you know you're in a minority and you know you're fucking outnumbered, why would you think it's a clever idea to antagonise the locals? Look at this guy, here we are, Michael Morgan, found it. This psycho, this race-baiting, hate-filled fucking communist, said, can't stop thinking about the racial attack in Carlisle. Angry as hell. Well, I'll stop you there, Michael. It was school bullies. Kids are mean to each other. All it was a lad getting a clip. Not serious at all. He won't even have a limp. It's a lad getting clipped by a bully. And he said he can't stop thinking about it. You know what I couldn't stop thinking about for about a day or two? I'm a tough guy. Probably, all right, it was gone in 12 hours. Lee Rigby getting his head sawed off in the middle of the street in London by a bloke who fucking looks like you. I couldn't stop thinking about that. Little Emily Jones, little blonde girl getting a fucking throat cut by an Albanian from one of the religions of many, many pieces. Thought about that a lot. Little Safi getting scattered across the side of the fucking Manchester Evening News Arena. Thought about that for quite a while. This poor kid, and it is shocking, don't like to see a bully. Poor kid getting a slap off a school bully just made me go, the little twats. That was it. They scattered children, women and children up the side of a fucking building. And he's upset because a black lad got a slap off a school bully. And then he ends with, this is the best bit, touch one, touch all. And my point here is, as this man got the brains, the gods gave a fucking goose. Because I've just outlined to you there real reasons to get angry. He's angry because he saw a kid getting a slap off a school bully. We've had fucking decapitations in the streets. Little girls, Emily Jones and little Safi, they're the two. When I see those little girls' faces, all of my conditioning and my soft spot for my little Indian friend Neil, and all of them things I always thought I knew are in danger of going out the window. And then me embracing the collectivist, repellent nationalism that I've always hated because it's collectivism. And I've always said this. It is communism by another name. It is the other side of the coin. Nick Griffin's ideology. If you're going to start deporting people just because of what they look like and not what they act like, never ever would I have dreamed of supporting such things. But if you're going to promote the likes of Michael Morgan and Professor Shoggy Bamu, then you're going to force me to pick a side. And I'll hold my nose and I'll pick a side. And it won't be the ones that just slap kids occasionally when they're 14, like a little arsehole bully. I'll be standing against the people who murder children in the streets, Michael. And when you end with a statement like, touch one, touch all, that makes me think, okay, it's time for my principles to go out the window. Michael's brought the war. I didn't want it. Never wanted it. Never advocated it. Never agreed with the white nationalists. But if Shoggy Bamu and Michael are going to insist you touch one, you touch all, well, I've just seen you touch little Safi and Emily Jones. I've seen you touch women and children on London Bridge. I've seen you touch women and kids in the Borough Market. I've seen you touch hundreds of innocent people all across Western Europe. Seen you touch people with a truck of peace in Nice. Seen you touch people at the Beslan school massacre. Do you remember that one? When they were bayoneting little kids in the guts with a fucking rusty bayonet because a 6-year-old kid asked some Islamist fundamentalist for a drink of water. So they gave him the pointy end of a fucking bayonet. I've seen all that. So do you want to play this game? Touch one, touch all? You're going to make me pick a side? I did reply to it. Where's your fucking reply? Look at this. Can't lie, I'll celebrate. Yours made me laugh out loud. Fuck you, Michael. I mean, what else have I got to say? Touch one, touch all. Yeah, there we go. And my response was that. Touch one, touch all, eh? Well, we've had 50,000 rape kids. Lee Rigby, Manchester Arena, bring it on. Let's play by your rules and we'll go to war then, right? It's not something I've ever wanted to see. But if we're playing by Michael's rules, seems like they're forcing me to pick a side. And when you're in a minority, are you going to win? Do you think they're going to win if they piss off people like me? And make us leave our force us to set our principles aside to join in this because they've just decided it's a binary, it's a pick a side game. It won't fucking go well for them. So that is a sick thing to write in response to a school bully. Like, it's ludicrous. And there he is crowing, loving it on Twitter, like, hey. Because as I'm telling you, they do it on purpose. They're trying to antagonise people. And that's what Shoggy Bamu's been doing. I've seen Paz responding to her like, yeah, you detestable commie. The UK has the most cooked men in the world. That's pretty bad, like, isn't it? Conservative. Still conservative in the UK. I told you why. The problem with the UK is we're a victim of our own success. We were so well led for so long compared to the continent, like Poland, Czech Republic. Fucking hell! Look at all the fascists and the dictators that spawned in the 20th century. Look at there's shitloads of them. They had like Tito, Franco, Mussolini, Hitler, Stalin, fucking, well, way more. Who else is a good one? Shit, I could go on all fucking day. That's why. It's something to be embarrassed about that we're as bad as we are. But it's because we're a victim of our own success. Like, we were better led for centuries. And that's why it's in perfect clarity now that we've been sorely led for decades by the self-serving scum that have been in command for the last few years. Like, it is shocking, and we need a fucking. He did. I guess he did. But ultimately, beggars can't be choosers. I'll briefly talk about that, and I'll end on it. Trump. To any Americans in the chat, right? I understand Trump's many personal failings. I didn't vote for him in 2016. A lot's changed since then. But now, seriously, if you're voting for Biden, I think you're mentally ill. I can't put it any other way. It's not even about politics now or the individual failings of the man. It's as simple as this. Nothing needs to be conjecture because we've seen them both have 4 years now. Trump had 4 years. We know what a Trump presidency looks like. Biden's had his 4. We know what a Biden presidency looks like. Ignoring everything else, ignoring the noise, ignoring the ideology, ignoring the speeches, the personal failings, whatever. Now we know what each presidency looks like. Who did the best? Who did the best? Just look at it. Everything is more expensive. Food's more expensive, clothes more expensive, petrol's more expensive. Failed in Afghanistan, left 13 dead kids in the sand. Borders are open when there weren't. 7 million plus illegals entered in the last 3 years. Shocking results. Inflation through the fucking roof. Blatant race hate. Everybody hates each other now. We've gone backwards for years. There is nothing positive you can say about Biden. Biden is probably the worst president in my lifetime. And ultimately, if you're going to support him over Trump, I think you are seriously mentally ill. Even if you hate Trump, even if you're a liberal, you know what 4 years of Trump looked like and you know what 4 years of Biden looked like. Hold your fucking nose and pick the orange emperor, the orange oracle, because there's not even a choice at this point. Not even a choice. But they're probably going to cheat again, so it won't matter who you vote for. Right? They're only going to cheat. Anyway, starting to lose my voice. I talk too fast. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. We'll call it there. I have to go and see off someone from work, so I'm going to be talking all afternoon as well. So I need to rest my voice box. 900 there. I think that's a new record. Clearly, they've took me up the naughty step off the naughty step for a couple of days. Yeah, so I've got a boogie. Ladies and gents, thanks for tuning in. I'll make some more content this weekend, and I will see you all very soon. Yeah, don't lose hope. Ultimately, at least it's still funny until the boogaloo. It's going to be, and even that'll be good because I've got shitloads of ammunition. Probably not as much fun in the UK though. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate all of the sentiments. See you all very soon. All right? Cheers. Toodle pip.